Cedric, thank you for that. That was really, really useful. Lovely. All of the thumbs up. Okay, so I'm going to go through a session now on thriving in remote research. So this one's going to be a bit of a lighter session. We're just going to talk about some of the things, some of the tips that we have as mentors, so that you can make the most out of your internships. Obviously, we're all working remotely at the moment, and that's a little bit different to how things have been done in the past. But we still think it can be a really valuable experience, and we want to set you up all so that you can succeed in this, so that you can have a really great time and make some new connections. So yes, thriving in remote research. So let's start with a couple of housekeeping things. Let's talk about your online presence. Because we are all remote, it means that really our main way of connecting is going to be through the online platforms we have. So we have Slack, we're holding catch-ups in Zoom and in Remo, and we're also looking at a couple of other platforms that might be useful for all of you guys, that might make the internship a little bit more well-rounded. So I guess these are just a couple of basic things here. We're on Slack, we're on Zoom all the time. So add a profile photo so people know who you are when they're getting in touch. It's a great idea also to add a short bio to the platform, even if it's just, hi, I'm from this uni, or hi, I'm working on astronomy, something that gives people a little bit of an insight into what you're doing at Pawsey. The other important thing is to introduce yourself when you first enter a platform. So whether that's saying hi when you're in a new channel in Slack, or, saying hello.
We've just lost sound for you, I think. Can anyone else hear?
Okay, how about now?
That's better.
Okay, yes, Bluetooth headphones going to be the death of me. That's okay, we'll go without the headphones. Yes, so, just a couple of small things. So, yeah, introduce yourselves when you first enter. We want to know who you are. We want you to say hi to us. We want you to say hi to each other. When we're starting in a platform with cameras, so when it's something like Zoom or Remo, come in with your cameras on. I know you may not want to have your cameras on when things are being recorded. That's totally fine. We don't have any problem with that. But, there'll always be time at the start to pop in, say hi, see how everyone's going for the day. And just the other main thing, remember Slack and work email are not the same as social media. It's a bit of a different way of communicating. So just be mindful of that when you're getting in touch with your supervisors, when you're getting in touch with us. Although, I do enjoy a couple of emojis, so feel free to send them my way. In terms of other things, the other important thing is just the day-to-day. So we know it can be really easy to just, sit down at your computer at 8 a.m. and then stay there until 5 p.m. when you decide to knock off. But obviously, that's not healthy. You're not going to be getting the most out of the internship when you do that. So these are just some of the tips we have for you here. So first of all, set some time aside every day to take some time out. We think it would be really great for you, to make some friends while you're here at the internship. So why not set aside some time to have a coffee with them remotely? Just because you're working from different offices doesn't mean that you can't still have that social time. That's as much a part of the internship as is the actual content of your projects. Now, this is a really basic one, but get dressed every day. Don't be like the bananas in pajamas. It really helps set you up for the day properly if you're dressing as if you were going into the office. And I guess related to that, it's a great idea to log out of all your social media accounts while you're working for the day. It just helps minimize distractions, and it really helps you set up that kind of working environment in a space where you might otherwise be doing social things at different times of the day. And so we don't want you to dress like B1 and B2, but it's okay to eat bananas. So healthy snacks are always a good thing to have. Again, it's very easy when you might be working from home, you might be working at your desk that you sit at every day. It's very easy to reach for the unhealthy stuff. But if you really try to maintain a balance, you're going to be in a much better frame of mind to come to your projects every day and really produce some interesting work that you and your supervisors are happy with. And I guess related to that, it's important to give yourselves rewards for doing a good job. Again, we're not in the office. We can't, swing by your desk and say that's a really good job, well done. We are going to be communicating with you as much as we can over Slack and other platforms. But at the same time, it's important to take time out and recognize when you've done a good job. You might find that maybe you want to take a 10-minute walk after you've had a really productive day. Maybe you want to sit down and watch your favorite show on Netflix. Really, whatever it is, you've got to find something that works for you and some sort of motivation to reward yourself when you've had a really good day, you get a really nice plot and a really good result. So that's kind of the rundown of the expectations, but I want this to be a bit of an interactive session as well. So Edric, I think, is going to put you guys into some breakout rooms, and I want you to get to know each other. We've already done a little bit of an icebreaker at the start of the week, but there are a lot of interns in the program. So we really want you to get talking to some other people, hear what everyone's up to. So I think Edric is going to assign breakout rooms, and we want you to talk about, well, you can talk about anything you want, but just an idea here. Think about, where would you take a visitor to your city or suburb? If the other interns in your breakout group were going to come and visit you and work beside you for a week, what kind of things would you do with them? Where would you show them? What would you take them to?
Awesome. I'll be opening the rooms now, and we're going to be all just randomly assigned. So probably see you all in there as well. How long would you like us to be in the rooms, Emily?
Excellent question, Edric. I think let's give it 3 or 4 minutes.
Sounds good. All right. See you all in there.
So, first of all, very full. Oh.
In progress.
Okay, we're slowly making our way back in. I will share my screen again. Back to the world of PowerPoint. We'll just wait another 30 seconds, Edric, until the breakout room's hanging around, or? Yeah.
They are.
Oops.
They are closed now.
Okay, excellent. All right, so hopefully everyone should be back in the main room. Welcome back. And hopefully you've found out something interesting about, places to visit from the other interns in your breakout room. And, it's really important to continue to make these connections. It can be harder online, but it really doesn't have to be. If you're willing to put yourself out there a little bit, say hi to other people. This can really be another rewarding experience where you meet new people, make new research connections, make new friends. And that's really what we want out of the internship. So in terms of kind of daily routines, there are a couple of things we want to cover. In terms of all the video calls that we're running, there's usually sort of a 2 to 3 minute grace period, but we really do like you to be on time. In terms of other day-to-day activities, it's important that you keep track of what you're doing. Again, because you're all working on your own, it can be very easy to get caught up in certain tasks and let them drag on for perhaps longer than they should. So it's really important that you set up some sort of to-do list and planner. And again, the exact specifics of this are going to depend on what you're used to, what you're comfortable with. But that said, this is a 10-week internship. It's quite short. Maybe it's a good opportunity to try a different system if you've been thinking about a different way to organize your time. Why not give it a go now and see if it works for you? The other important thing is to establish a routine for yourself early and stick to it. So this includes things like your working hours each day. We have people spread all across the country working in slightly different time zones. You may be even working in a different time zone to your supervisors. So it's really important from the get-go that you decide how you're going to structure your day, whether you're going to be working at the same time as your supervisors or whether you're going to be working at a time that suits you and just overlapping a little bit with them. It's really good to chat to them about that. Chat to them early in your first meeting if you can, so that you can make it clear from the get-go what's going to work for you and what is going to work best with the research group you're going to be joining. In addition to that, you should be thinking about how you're going to divide up your time throughout the week. So you're going to definitely be spending some time reading, learning about your domain area, learning more about your domain area. But of course, you're also going to have meetings with us. You'll have meetings with your supervisors. You'll have more training to come. And you'll also be doing, no doubt, lots of coding, lots of research, and lots of debugging. So it's important to be a little bit flexible about the time that you allot to each of these things each day. But we really think it's important for you to set up certain rough guidelines for how you want to spend your day and try to stick to them as much as possible. And the most important thing about that is knowing when to stop. As I said, it's very, very easy sometimes to get really stuck into a problem and, 3 hours go by before you notice it and you've missed lunch. Obviously, we've all done that. Sometimes it's really easy to get sucked into this really interesting problem, but you don't want to start making a habit of it. You really want to try and stick to a good daily routine to make sure that you're looking after yourself as well as getting your research done.
I'd like to, sorry.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in to just add another voice to that. It's something that I struggle with because I like kind of, working with computers, like programming. I'm also very obstinate, can be quite stubborn. I want to solve something myself. And, that's great in terms of, sometimes it gives me the resiliency to solve something, but all too often, I just, have trouble knowing when to stop. And you often don't, when you're sitting at a computer and you're working, you often don't really know when your cognition is just reached the point of like genuine impairment. Like standing up and just moving away and then coming back, right? That's often the best problem solving tool in your book. And then failing that, knowing when you're actually just going to stop and move on to the next task, like Emily was saying, is just the other, best case tool book. Even when you best tool in the box, even if you're not working on something actively, everything you've thought about, all of the new information you've ingested, it's kicking around in the back of your head. Creatives like to call it incubation, right? It's a thing where you'd go off and read a lot of source material and so on, and then just like let time pass for your subconscious to churn on it. Well, it happens with problem solving and technical skills as well, and you have to give yourself space for that. And yeah, if you let a bug kind of rule you, it'll completely destroy your schedule, social life, and week. If you let it, you might not even realize it.
Yeah, thank you, Edric. And I do think that's a really great point, particularly about kind of not noticing when you're getting really tired. I've definitely found that too. It's really easy to sit there and kind of bash your head against a problem and not realize that in having sat there for 5 hours, you've become so fatigued that you really can't focus on it with the same amount of concentration that you were at the start of the session. So as Edric says, even something as simple as just getting up, going to get a glass of water, going out for a coffee for 5 minutes, it really can make a world of difference. So on that note, I thought it might be interesting to look a little bit at debugging. So I've made a little Mentimeter and I'm going to share the link to it in the chat. So the link to it should be there. And then can you all see my screen? Is it still on the PowerPoint or is it on something else? Are we looking at?
It's on the debugging PowerPoint.
Debugging PowerPoint. Excellent. So that means I'm going to have to stop sharing and then I will share a different screen. So if we all go to the Mentimeter, this is anonymous, so feel free to be as honest as you would like. We want to hear, we want to see how long have you spent debugging. You may not have had any experience debugging before. You may have, you may have spent months debugging a problem because you've got some code from a supervisor. I think it would be worthwhile to see what the distribution is. And of course, we have some people who are one with the code who have no need to debug. To be honest, the longest I've probably spent debugging a problem is at least a week, if not a little bit longer. Most of the time when I've spent that long on it, it's actually been, as Edric has said, it tends to be the simplest problems that I tend to spend the longest on, because I too can be quite obstinate. I tend to focus on things for a little bit longer than perhaps I should. Interesting, yeah. So a lot of people spending a couple of hours up to a few days. I would say that that's pretty standard. Yeah, we've got a couple of people also at 1 week. So yeah, I guess the takeaway I'd like you to get from this is that, you know, yes, it can be hard debugging, but as you can see, you know, it's hard for everyone. There are lots of you guys that spend a couple of days debugging. Don't feel like, you know, you're any less of a programmer because you get stuck on a problem for a couple of days. It happens to the best programmers in the world. Knowing when is important. Yes. Please, Edric.
I'd like to share just, I think, my silliest bug. And that was in my master's. But right towards the end, my thesis, I'm in that kind of final hectic stretch. I kept getting a warning from the compiler because I was writing something in Fortran, and it was telling me that I was branching on an uninitialized variable. And that's a bunch of words to basically say that you've declared a number, you haven't set it equal to anything, and then you're doing something like, if that number is greater than 0, do this. And it'd give me the line, right, that this error was occurring at. I would go to that line, and then I would go to where I declared the variable, and I would see that I had set it to 0. I had initialized it to 0 right there. A month later, when I was actually preparing my results for a paper, I went back, had a look at that, my code, and that line just didn't actually exist. So I'd just been staring at the screen for so long, been working for so long, that my visual system had just started making up wholesale lines based on my beliefs. So I just, yeah, I'm still amazed by that, right? Just the reality we can kind of construct when we're really in the middle of something.
Yeah, and I think that is a really good point, Edric. And again, it goes back to that point we're making. You know, if you're looking at something for too long, it's really easy to get bogged down in it. It's really easy to kind of lose focus without realizing. And that's when, you know, you start running into silly things that if you had stepped away, perhaps you could have found much sooner. So yeah, takeaway from that, you know, debugging happens, people get stuck on problems, but try not to let it consume your internship, because as we say, this is quite a short period of time and we really want you to make the most out of it that you can. So I'm going to switch back to my PowerPoint, and I don't know how to do that smoothly from one screen to the other. So we're going to do it the clunky way. Back to the PowerPoint. Yes, debugging. So, you know, this is something to think about. It also might be worth thinking about the processes you use to debug, what resources, what tools you use to help you. And if you're interested in that, please get in touch with us. We all have our own kind of setups for debugging things. Very happy to chat about it. If there's enough interest, we could even potentially look at running a session for you guys a little bit later to chat about different ways you can debug different kinds of code. So apart from that, there is, of course, your interactions with other people. So I've already said, you know, work-life balance can be hard, particularly when you have a project with a very short amount of time when you really want to get some good results. That said, you know, it's important. We all really want you to look after yourselves during this internship. We want you to have a really healthy work-life balance so that you come away from this feeling like you've achieved something, but also that you had a good holistic experience. So again, we want you to really establish expectations with your supervisors early on. So really from your first couple of meetings, you should be chatting with them about what kind of milestones they would like to get out of the project, but also simple things about how they want to communicate, whether they want to meet with you in a live Zoom call once or twice a week, whether they would prefer to communicate over email. You know, talk to them, sort out how they would like to interact with you, see what works well for you, and really try and set this up early on, because the earlier you set up these expectations, the smoother the rest of your internship is going to be. Obviously, try to maintain a balance. The internship shouldn't consume your lives for these 10 weeks. We really want you to be able to do your really great work during the day, but you shouldn't feel like that you have to be switched on for the internship 24/7. And that might mean, muting your notifications to the Slack after 6 p.m. at night and before 8 a.m. so that you can just have that time to switch off, step away from any problems you might be having, and take a break from things. In addition to that, we really want you to communicate with us early and often. So we've said this a little bit already, but don't wait if you have a problem, because the internship is short. And we really don't want you to spend time, we don't want you to spend that full week debugging a problem. So feel free to reach out to us. We're always available on Slack. Feel free to reach out to your supervisors too. They're there to help you. They don't mind if you have problems. They're just happy to see that you're working. And that's really all we want to see too. So on that note of communication, we are going to jump into, do we have time, Edric? Do we have time for another little breakout activity?
We have time for another breakout activity.
Amazing. So we're going to get you to jump into little breakouts again, and we're going to practice a little bit of science communication, because this is another important aspect of the project. So we want you to talk to each other and we want you to tell each other why you were drawn to your internship project. So remember, you may have different sets of domain knowledge to other people. And obviously you're not going to know very much about your projects yet. It's very early days, but we really want you to get this chance to talk about what drew you to what you're going to be working on for these next 10 weeks. And really any answer is valid. It could be because of the data science skills. It could be because of the chance to use Pawsey resources, or it could be something really about the domain that really just speaks to you and really makes you excited. So Edric, if you want to work your magic.
Off we go. Daniel, are you there? Maybe not.
Not.
So sorry about that, Emily.
No
But
problem.
yeah, we have had interns go over their limit. It's not the end of the world, but it's important to be conscious of your resource usage. It's usually the case for machine learning projects where you are able to set things up and running for like 24 hours at a time, right? If you're training a large data set. For other projects where you're programming or you're doing like some sort of simulation work, molecular dynamics or so on, it's not quite so easy to just set a big number and then chew up your allocation.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you, Edric. So there we go. I learned something today. So we do have interns who use up their resources. But that said, we do want you to get onto them as early as possible. We really want you to explore the system, explore this setup we've got, and we really want you to make the most of it, not only for your projects and the research you're doing, but also as a learning experience. At the end of this project, we really want you all to be confident using HPC systems so that you can go on to do many more exciting things, maybe at Pawsey, maybe at other systems around the country and the world. So with that in mind, where to get help? You are inevitably going to run into problems in your project. Some of them will be questions for your supervisors. Some of them will be things that we can help with. So first of all, it's important to see whether you can help yourselves. So those of you who've done a lot of programming might have come across the concept of rubber duckying something. So this is the idea where you have an object on your desk that you are able to talk to. It allows you to step back and kind of look at the problem in a more holistic way. Often this can be a really useful tool if you find yourself, again, really stuck down in the weeds of a problem. It can help you step back and look at things from a different perspective. So I myself have a little frog on my desk that I like to talk to. You may find a different animal of your choosing is your preferred desk mate, but we really recommend you find something that really helps you to step back from those problems when you're getting stuck into them. In addition to that, there are lots of other interns. Feel free to reach out to each other, particularly, excellent. Edric's showing us. Oh, it's very, is that a sausage dog? Amazing. There we go. So yes, you can rub a ducky. You can talk to a frog if you're me, or you're a sausage dog, as with Edric. But it's important, we think, to have something, something to help you focus your attention. In addition to that, as I said, it's important to reach out to each other as well. We're going to be getting to know each other a bit more over the course of the internship through our weekly meetings, which Edric will talk a little bit more about in a minute. But you may find over the course of those meetings that you have someone else who you've been talking to who has a really similar problem to you. And you might find that by putting your heads together, you're able to come up with a solution much faster than your supervisors, much faster than we could, without knowing kind of the full scope of the problem that you're both facing. That said, of course, you can always reach out to us. We mentors are all here to help you. Feel free to reach out over Slack. We're happy to hop into Zoom calls, breakout rooms, whatever you need. And then, of course, there's your supervisors. They're obviously going to be the main point of contact for any domain-specific knowledge. In addition to that, you can't have a where to get help slide without adding Stack Overflow. It is the gold standard of community help. Feel free to reach out on there. If you've had a problem, particularly with code-based difficulties, chances are someone else has had it before you and they've asked about it on Stack Overflow. And then, of course, if you are really stuck, we do have the Pawsey help desk who are ready and available to help. If you are at a stage where you think you're ready to reach out to the help desk, do get in touch with us first. We will try and troubleshoot. If we can't help and we do need to contact the help desk, we will do so, but we'll make sure that we flag that you're asking for help as a mentor, because then we can fast track the process with them rather than having you wait for 8 weeks of your internship to hear back from a help desk member. So I think that's all from me. I might hand back now to Edric, who is going to talk a little bit more about our weekly meetings and how they're going to run.
Thanks, Emily. So we've talked earlier about have these weekly meetings for an hour each Friday, the internship, and we require that all Pawsey interns join us for these meetings. It'll be with either myself, Emily, or David, and it's an opportunity for us to talk about, for you to talk about how your project is going, and also for us to, offer, small, I guess, like, training examples or relay information about the internship, right? Because throughout this, we're going to be trying to keep track, right, of the challenges that you're encountering. And if we find there's, something that's occurring frequently, we're going to go off and try to figure out if there's a way we can assist you there. So whether that be like providing a video tutorial on setting up a particular type of package, or container examples and so on. So it gives us a chance to sort of all come together there. Shortly, we'll be going into our first meeting, which is at a sort of non-standard time, but it'll just be a brief one, 20 minutes at the max. It'll just be for us to touch base with everyone who's here and talk about the training week and answer any questions. During the workshop, I think Emily and David will discuss it with you, but we'll be setting a small task for you between now and next week. And that is, we'll be asking you to put together a 2-slide presentation where you are discussing, first one, your project, and next, the computational resources that you'll be using for that project, and why you need them. So the idea being that next week you can present on that for like no more than 2 minutes, just very briefly, so everyone else in the group can learn a little about your project. And just to be short, just to emphasize, we don't expect everyone to have come to grips with their project. So it's perfectly valid, right, to highlight areas, whether they're theoretical or practical of your project, that you're still learning about, and just say, I'm not sure about this. It's all about the dialogue. I'm just setting up the breakout rooms for that session. If there's anyone here from either the Data 61 or ICRA internships, so you're not required to attend, but if you'd like to join the meetings and like participate in this, send me a message in Slack now or either the Zoom chat, and I'll put you into one of the rooms. So you're welcome to join, not required to join though. Because I know that ICRA and Data 61, they have their own internship milestones and deliverables and requirements. So just while I set that up, just to see a question from Aidan earlier. So when you type Pawsey account balance and see 50,000 or whatever, are those units of, okay, so are those units of what? So they're actually units of, or the service units or loosely core hours. So that's actually the base unit. So when you're charged against that, it'll be on Sotonic's number of cores multiplied by the number of hours. The weighting is a little different if you're using a GPU, so you're still charged per hour, but there's like, you know, some other number, right, that it's being multiplied by to like factor in that it's GPU usage. So it's not like one service unit per GPU. You might see different allocations or different numbers on different clusters as well. So if you have a Topaz allocation, but also Sotonix, you'll have a separate number of service units or hours allocated on each system. Yep, so simply put, one CPU, 1 hour, one service unit if you're doing CPU-based work. Yeah, great time to take some questions just while I set this up. And yeah, yeah, pop them through. If not, I'll just be a moment while I enter everybody's names. And Emily, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yep, no, I think that sounds great, Edric. I might just share in the chat again the link to the spreadsheet that shows which mentors are paired with which interns, just so you know whose group you're going to be heading to.
Right. And since we've got the end of our material for the day, really,